Rick, it's good to see you, man.
Hi, Keith. Good to see you. Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. This one is titled Don't Miss Out Because You Didn't Get What You Wanted. This is inspired by someone who I met a few years ago who's this great, great young person who just grew up with very little means, but what he was rich on was having a really kind and open heart. And he started out working in like emergency services. I think he worked as a paramedic or as an EMT. And he made a decision to go off to medical school. And most recently, they had what's called Match Day. I don't know if you know what that is, but I'll kind of share it with you in the audience for people that may not know. Is that Match Day is where people finish med school and then they started to apply for residency programs and they pick their, I think if this is correct, they pick their favorites, like let's say top three. And then medical schools, and then they submit applications to them, and medical schools do the exact same thing, right? They pick their candidates, and hopefully you match up, right? It's almost like a blind date, like you match up it. But the way that you find out is just this big ceremony that your med school holds with everybody there, in which you open up an envelope where it's revealed to you where you matched, and it's your family and friends all the way around. So for some people, there could be complete elation that they got into one of the schools where they really want to go to for residency and training, or there could be complete letdown. The key is is that whether you were elated or disappointed, it's up to you. Like really, whatever happens. And so this friend of mine, I learned was disappointed. They did match with a residency program, but it was not, the school wasn't highly ranked, and so there was a lot of disappointment about it. And so when I think about this person who's probably in their late 20s, early 30s, I'm like, man, like, if everything goes well and you have your health, you got a long runway of life for the next, 2 to 4 years at this, residency program. Don't miss out. Don't miss out because it wasn't what your mind said that you wanted or that you needed. When I went off to the Marine Corps and got my orders at the boot camp of where I was going to be stationed, I had my idea. It made up in my mind of where I wanted to be stationed. I wanted to be stationed back in Tennessee, where I'm from. I actually talked to the Marine Corps recruiter, and he promised me that I would be stationed there. You know what that promise was worth, Rick? I found out later. Not much, because I was stationed in Yuma. And for the next 4 years, I missed out because I was suffering about being stationed in Yuma. I was attached to something out there, some goal. And so, what I want to tell this friend of mine, with his permission, is like, wherever you're going, make it an amazing experience. Make it something beautiful, something wonderful, something rich. Contribute and serve while you're there. Learn as much as you possibly can while you're there, and give as much as you can while you're there. Otherwise, you're going to spend your time there completely missing out. And you will think that it's because you didn't get into the program you wanted to get into. No, it's because you didn't accept the program that you got into. You didn't make the most of it. It has nothing to do with where you were sent. It's what you do. It's what you do with where you're sent. And so that's really the theme of this particular episode, Rick, is don't miss out because you didn't get what you wanted. And I think John Lennon said it best, and I've quoted this before in other podcast episodes, that when he was just a schoolboy, the teacher asked the whole class, what do you want to be when you grow up? And people are throwing out things like firefighter and nurse and, ball player and doctor. And they asked John, what do you want to be when you grow up? And John says, I want to be happy. And she said, John, I don't think you understand the question. John said, I don't think you understand life.
Oh
And that's
dear.
what you really want. You just want to be, you want to be a person who serves others. And don't even get attached to being a doctor, because what if you can't be that? Then that becomes a limitation of how you contribute to other people. Like you just want to give because that's what's in you is nothing but love. That's what you want to give. And so when I show up in Mayo Clinic, all I think about, I'm here to serve. I'm not here to take one thing. The minute that I started thinking I'm there to take, then I start suffering. But if I can remember, I'm here to give. So don't miss out because you didn't get what you wanted. Rick, what do you think?
Oh, well, I couldn't say it better, Keith. I think in my life, where I've had the most suffering is when I felt that I was owed something, or I felt that I had these enormous expectations. And when they weren't met, I felt let down. I felt like I was inadequate, or I blamed other people for not being where I want to be. And this happened a lot. You know, it still happens, but I'm aware of it, and I'm aware that expectations and attaching yourself to outcome is a recipe for having ill at ease. Let's put it that way.
Yes.
It's not a peaceful kind of behavior. You know, what you just said was basically the entire theme of Viktor Frankl's book, Frankl, Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist who was in a concentration camp, a Jewish fella who went into the concentration camp, watched a lot of his compadres die. He was on a work uh, detail, so he got to live for how long, no one knew. The war ended before he was killed, but the point of the book is to say this is probably the most horrific thing that anyone can experience. Torture, in essence, psychological warfare against an individual where they could die any day. They were maltreated. There was no food or little food. It was just a matter of time before you suffered, and then died. And so his point in the book, very slim book, maybe 100, 150 pages, his point in the book was I wasn't happy, but I was able to focus on things that, even though they were very trying, this whole experience was very trying. I was able to focus on enough small things to make my life meaningful, even in a concentration camp. For example, watching a bug walk across the floor, just knowing that that's another life form that's experiencing walking and freedom and so forth. I know this sounds far-fetched,
No,
but
it's
the point of it is you've got to be, you know, I think all of us, I have to remember expectations are the root of my problem. And if I let those get in the way, I'm just going to be bitter and I'll miss all the opportunities that are being presented. Not that you're in a concentration camp and there are opportunities, but in your example of the med student who was looking for a residency that he didn't get, the idea of having some place to go where they want you, focus on that.
yeah,
Focus.
yeah.
So anyway, I'm totally with you. I agree with you, and I'm in that category of flawed person that has expectations, and I realize that causes my suffering. So I know that the way out is to enjoy the moment, and to make the best of it, and even to flourish in it, to find things that could even be better than what you expected, and live that way.
Right. I love it, Rick. Thank you so much. I love you. I couldn't say it more. Couldn't say it better. So
Thanks,
thank you,
buddy.
Rick.
We'll
Bye
see you
bye.
next time.